So here we are again, talking terror. It seems like it's all we ever talk about. Not the weather, the kids, or my new workout. It's terror more than ever. By the way, it's Ramadan, a time when we're actually seeing more terror attacks. At least with Lent, the devoted try not to do bad things. But instead, the most extreme of Islam link their holiday to horror. I'm thinking terror's not a persuasive tool to win us over. Now, Turkey believes ISIS was behind Istanbul, but the fiends were Russian, Uzbek, and something that I cannot pronounce.
Kyrgyz or Kyrgyz.
Thank you for that. But once again, it reminds us that this is not about race at all, but a doctrine that cuts across all ethnic backgrounds, meaning you cannot be a bigot over an idea. Yet after each attack comes a spasm of media coverage over Islamophobia, the shield that blunts outcry against evil behavior. It's why liberals blame guns when terror erupts. But what happens if the weapons are bombs, or not guns, or knives? A 13-year-old American girl was just stabbed to death on the West Bank, a stabbing of a young girl on the West Bank by a guy named Mohammed. I don't think you can blame this on the NRA. Meanwhile, Samantha Power, you remember her, says it helps ISIS if you blame all terror on Islam, which no one's doing except for her administration. By not separating Islam from Islamism, Obama is the guy who's blending the benign with the barbaric. Just say radical Islam. Just once. Please. I'll buy you an adorable corgi. You need something to make you smile. But what if we compromise? Start saying radical Islam, but then add, not that there's anything wrong with it. It could work. Meanwhile, the president's bummed. He was about to save the earth at a climate change summit, and terror interrupted him again. For the president, terror is the distraction from the real work at hand. But in reality, climate change is Obama's flight from facing true evil. But at least they got the handshake right. They're like a clumsy menudo. They can't even shake hands, and yet we're left shaking our heads. Period. All right. Jillian, is it getting worse? Or does it seem like it's getting worse because we're covering it more? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure the answer to that question either, but I've been talking to a lot of friends about that very question in the intelligence community. It definitely feels like things are escalating, that there's more instances of large-scale terror attacks that are very public, not just because the press is covering the attacks, by the way, but because they're done in public.
Right.
I mean, they're done in these very soft target-like places, like airports, like cafes, things of that kind of nature that have been going on in certain parts of the world for many years now, like Israel, are now spreading.
Yeah, and Israel, being used to it, know how to harden soft targets, and have actually accepted the logic and the mentality of doing that. You are no longer shocked if you go to a bakery and there's a dude with a gun, baker. Is it time for us to start thinking like Israel?
Well, we won't accept that level of security. Look, everybody's got, yeah, we should, but everybody's got an appetite for it right after an attack or a couple of attacks.
I have an appetite for it all the time.
Yeah, well, you're in the minority because think about how quickly everybody got disgusted with having to take their shoes off.
Right.
Or just the inconvenience of it all. And so, yes, we want more security, but we don't want it for very long. We don't want it to inconvenience us. To weigh in on what you said, it is getting worse. The bottom line is, it is getting worse. We're getting more incidents overseas. There's more concern over the rise of a new generation of jihadists in different places, including Bangladesh.
Right.
So this is a real problem. And also, to your point earlier, it's insanely frustrating to President Obama. Because it has hijacked his term, and both terms, and it's not what he wanted to be remembered for, was the war on terror.
Yeah, he wanted to slow the rising tides of the ocean. By the way, I'm one of the few people that didn't mind taking off shoes because I have a foot fetish. And generally, when I'm in line at the airport,
hey,
yeah.
You know who's got some great feet?
Who?
Joe Nosichinsky.
Every time I'm on a show with him.
Yeah, but
even a pinky toenail.
But you know what? You're saying that in front of Kat, which is hurtful. But you know what? It's like you usually have to go on the web for hours to look for pictures of feet. I just go to the airport.
There you go.
It's free. Andrew, I don't believe that there is a conflict between security and freedom. I think security enhances freedom. Am I crazy?
No, I think we got too much freedom.
Yes, thank you.
Why? We don't need it all.
Oh, really? What would you like to get rid of?
Take it all away.
Yeah.
I really don't think, like, look at my cell phone, look at my emails. You know, me and a few friends sharing Netflix, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
You know, what is the big deal? Look at it. If it helps, if it creates a more secure space, I'm totally okay with it. I think this freedom thing is overrated.
I think that it enhances freedom. If people, look, if you can pick between two venues, one that is secure and one that is not, and you're taking your family, you will go to the secure one. That doesn't limit your freedom.
Yeah,
it enhances you.
I don't want my family looking at what's on my phone. I don't want anybody to see what's on my phone. That's my nightmare.
Right.
Okay? Like, if I had the choice between, like, dying and, like, having my iCloud published, gotta die.
Well, that's on you. By the way,
Yeah.
I brought my laptop in to the help desk to get certain software placed on it, and then I changed my mind because I realized I had not cleared my history.
Yeah. Well, what's the big deal? What's on it?
Oh, it's a big deal.
But that's the thing. We have a shaming society.
And porn. Who cares?
We like
Who
to
doesn't
shame
like it,
people
Joe?
for their choices, and I don't. But you
I
shouldn't.
shame you for wearing shoes.
All right, Joanne, let's get back to terror
we'll
and
get
away
back.
from feet. I apologize. That was on me.
I think that this administration might be focusing on the wrong problem. So we heard Kerry recently saying that the latest attack in Istanbul, ISIS is getting desperate.
Right.
I understand that their goal is to have a state, right? And they aren't really acquiring that land, so maybe their goals aren't really happening. However, the idea of Islamism, which they, you know, really preach, and they want to get those lone wolves doing the soft targets and things, that does seem to be expanding.
Right.
They're gaining ground
And we need
in
to
the
make fun of these
ideological
people.
way.
That's why these lone wolves, with the way that we talk about terrorists, we need to make fun of them more. These are cuckoo bananas people who are such losers that they had such a hard time making friends that they had to join ISIS to make friends, right? Like, did they try like a Zumba class and no one liked them, so ISIS it is? They're losers. They're not cool. They're not masturbators.
That's true.
They suck.
I joined the speech team instead. Mike, you've been itching to say something. I've been watching you squirm, so don't blow it.
Yeah, no. Well, first let me time it to make sure it's under a minute.
Yeah,
shall we? First of all, I don't know where to go with what Kat just said.
But she is right. I mean, the fact is, you have to identify that these people are losers. Anybody who believes that they're going to kill themselves now and kill everybody, and that they're doing a favor to gay people.
But they don't think they're losers.
Yeah, the administration wants to make this point all the time. They're not Muslims. They're not representing Islam. It's not the administration's place to tell these people, because the folks that carried out the Ataturk airport bombing and in Paris, and you know, they believe they're on the true path.
And they yell it. Allah Akbar is basically their Gesundheit.
Can we also say another thing that everybody is, I think, afraid to say? If that Orlando gay club was in any country in the Middle East, it's shot up the day it opened.
That's true.
Okay?
You're
so let's
absolutely
stop acting like this is radical Islam. It's just the way of life there.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Why are we so afraid to just say the obvious?
Because we are, in a weird way, we conflate all the peaceful people with the angry people or the murderous people, because we're too scared to say that. Last word, Jillian. I bet it's good.
I would say that it's important to, label these terrorists. I prefer to use the term radical Islam. It's also important to take care to distinguish them from the general population of Islam. I think it's important to label them because they've been very clear about labeling us, who we are, Westerners, Americans, as the enemy, and it's very hard to, as a government, come up with a strategy to degrade and defeat them if we can't, as the first step, label them.
But if you're a gay dude living in the Middle East, isn't everybody there radical Islamist?
Yeah. You're on everybody's.
Real talk, if you could be killed for being gay in any of those countries, isn't everything radical?
Well, that's not fair to say that in any of those countries.
Well, 11 countries in the Middle East you could be killed for being gay.
But government
last
policy.
terror incident in Bangladesh, before the attack at the bakery that's been unfolding, it was an attack on a gay rights activist. who happened to be a USAID employee, and his partner, and they would just machete to death. So, I mean, to your point, yeah, but we're the ones who get to be labeled intolerant, and
it's very interesting. I find the left defending it. It's a very peculiar thing.
It's what happens when identity politics wins over common sense. So now it's like you go, well, I can't offend anybody, including people that want to kill me.